And my own critique of Sanders is that he has long been a member of the Democratic establishment, funding for the NSA, funding for the CIA. There is not a pro-Israel resolution coughed up by the Israel lobby and AIPAC he hasn't supported.
Hello all, I'm going to try to make this quick because I know your time is precious, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to provide some counter-arguments to a statement made by Senator Bernie Sanders on the College for All Act, which I think will be important because this will obviously be a topic that they will cover in the debate, whoever it may be, and I'm not so sure that Bernie Sanders will necessarily get the nomination. I think right now that the Democratic Party wants Hillary Clinton to be their front runner, and that Bernie Sanders is willing to capitulate and pledge his support, and thereby his supporters' support for Hillary Clinton.
He's lost his bargaining power electorally when he said he'll endorse the Democratic nominee 5 months ago, without saying it depends who it is.
Unwilling tonight to pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person. Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump.
What I'm going to be doing with analyzing this statement is I'm going to be reading portions of what he has to say and then providing my own insight. Without further ado, here we go. I'm going to start with his opening statement, where he says, "We have a crisis in higher education today. Too many of our young people cannot afford a college education, and those who are leaving college are faced with crushing debt." I would say that we do have a crisis in education today, but it's that too many young people are going to school, even though they can't afford it, and they wind up with crushing debt that they cannot repay. Bernie, it is a national disgrace that hundreds of thousands of young Americans today do not go to college, not because they are unqualified, but because they cannot afford it. This is absolutely counterproductive to our efforts to create a strong competitive economy and a vibrant middle class. This disgrace has got to end. I would say that that disheartening disgrace to the hundreds of thousands of Americans who do not go into the school of higher learning, not necessarily because they are unqualified, but because they are fiscally responsible, or they want to see where they can take their life on their own, or a lot of times they don't need to take out loans because their parents are well off enough to provide them with the money they need to go to school, such as was the case long ago in this country. I think that these people represent the productive segment of our society, and that these are the people who are able to understand that thwarting student debt will only hinder their ability to achieve prosperity. And I think that this is the disgrace that must end. Going back to what Bernie would say, in a global economy, when our young people are competing with workers from around the world, we've got to have the best educated workforce possible. And that means that we have to make college affordable. We have to make sure that qualified Americans in this country who want to go to college can go to college, regardless of income. Further, it is unacceptable that 40 million Americans are drowning in more than $1.2 trillion in student loan debt. It is unacceptable that millions of college graduates cannot afford to buy their first home or their first new car because of the high interest rates that are paying on student debt. It is unacceptable in many instances. Interest rates on student loans are 2 or 3 times higher than on auto loans. To which I would reply, in this rising global economy, when third world nations are competing using next to slave labor, we have to concentrate inward. This means that we have to educate kids while they're in public, tax-funded schools. We have to make sure that kids can attain a good job with the education they receive in K through 12th grade. America used to be successful because kids left school knowing how to balance a checkbook, pitch a business plan to a bank, or create something with their hands using skills learned in metal or wood workshops. Nowadays, the focus is shifted to academics and memorization, regurgitation of facts, while leaving the crucial how-do behind. We give government schools a majority of our youth's time. By focusing on early skills again, we can begin to alleviate the burden of student debt, which currently amounts over $1.2 trillion. These skills could include programming, information technology, accounting, marketing, or hands-on skills such as woodcutting, metalwork, measurement etiquette, custodial knowledge, or countless more. Schools should focus on giving children room to develop skills beyond mathematics and literature, which is all your kids get besides a limited history regiment. Furthermore, I think without that type of debt, as well as education about the importance of saving, young people can afford to get loans on more necessary things such as transportation or housing. Since the majority of school loan applicants are first-time borrowers with no discernible credit history, is it not understandable that student loans carry higher interest rates than auto or home loans? Well, let's go back to Bernie here. Bernie says, let's be clear, other nations around the world understand the benefits of having an educated workforce that isn't burdened with enormous student debt. Other countries recognize that allowing all qualified students, regardless of income, to achieve a higher education is an investment in the future prosperity of their people. For example, last year, tuition was eliminated in Germany because policymakers believed that charging $1,300 per year was discouraging students from attending college. $1,300 per year, and that tuition was eliminated. In Denmark, not only is college free of tuition and fees, people who go to college in that country actually get paid to go to college. In Finland, Norway, and Sweden, tuition and fees are free not only for their citizens, but in many cases, foreign students as well. In Chile, which has the highest level of income inequality in Latin America, will implement free college tuition next year and pay for it by increasing taxes on corporations.
But they cannot go to college for one reason.
Other nations around the world are able to subsidize the cost of school because of thriving economies and lower populations compared to us. Other countries recognize qualified students by not using score altering policies such as affirmative action, where minorities' scores are altered when entering into when being tested for application into schools. If you're an African American, your scores are typically raised, whereas if you're Eastern Asian person, your scores are typically lowered in order to bring about the equality that we in America desire, but think that we can force. Let's go into these examples that are listed here by Bernie of these different countries and how they differ from the United States. Last year tuition was eliminated in Germany, but Germany has a 12% unemployment rate compared to 40% unemployment rate in the United States, and it has a population of 80 million compared to the United States, which has 320